Morning, Ben here again, and just making a video for you guys. I want to make a video today about feelings. So we're going to talk this morning about some feelings that people have, particularly strong, overwhelming, negative ones. So I made a video yesterday about the basic principles of Christian counseling, or really just successful counseling, period. Because I know there's some non-Christian people that utilize the same principles, and the ones that do are highly successful. We'll get into all that in a little bit. So I'm sitting back here. It's about 9 o'clock where I'm at, and I'm in my office. Work at a church, and before I really dive into everything I'm going to do today, I realize I just need to kind of get some stuff out of my mind. I don't know how many people experience that, but you may have a hard time concentrating like me. And it's because if you ever shut off the noise, if you don't have anything coming in terms of TV or a book or whatever, and it's just stuff coming out, I've been honestly surprised by the stuff that's in there. I remember I ran a half marathon about 6 or 7 years ago. Last time I ran really at all. And there was one particular day. Normally we would run, and one of us, there's half a dozen of us, one of us would have their cell phone on their arm, have one of those armbands, and she would play music. She was our playlist girl, and it was great. She had great choices of music and real upbeat stuff for us to run to. Good workout playlist. There was one day she didn't have it, and so what I found myself doing was running for a while in silence. We were all silent because we're trying to keep a good pace, and so none of us could talk. We'd talk for a little bit, but then it just came time to get down to business, and so we ran. And I realized that I had little kids. I had little kids at the time. They were younger than they are now, and I just had Coco Melon playing in my head just on loop. All the kids' songs, the nursery rhymes, just going and going and going. It's like, oh, that's in there. There's some stuff in there that I'm not aware of. Everybody has something like that. And so it's become a daily practice for me to turn off all the noise and let something come out. And I'm always surprised by what's in there. I'm surprised on a daily basis. And so for me, what that looks like is I wake up, and if I can help it, I wake up before anybody else in my house. And, 5:30, if I can help it, whenever I wake up, but usually 5:30. And I have a gas fireplace. And right now where I'm at, it is cold. There's some winter weather advisories going on. It's negative 25 some days with the wind chill. It's just starting to heat up after a really cold week. And anyway, I turn on the gas fireplace, and I have a chair, comfy chair that I drag in front of that fire, and I just sit there. And I'll read the Bible, I'll read another book, but eventually I'll get through that, and no one will be awake yet. I have daughters. They'll come out, they'll come snuggle me. I'll feed them breakfast, we'll talk a bit. But I'll just sit there with my thoughts, and that's the best part of my day. And I think people underestimate the need they have for self-care, for dealing with their feelings and expressing them and understanding them and getting them out. For some people, that's a long walk every day. I do that, but right now it's time in front of the fire. And I do that with my coffee mug, my coffee. I like black coffee, and I like to put honey in it. And when I got married, I thought that was the most ridiculous thing. My wife did that. She put honey in her coffee. And I made fun of her for it. And then I tried it, and I was like, whoa, this is really good. And now I do it. I put honey in my coffee every day. And, my Yeti, keep it warm for a long time. I'm $40 coffee mug kind of bougie. I don't buy a lot of stuff, but I make sure I always have one of these. It's worth it to me anyway. So yeah, I want to talk this morning about some of my thoughts. This is how I'm going to get them all off my chest and unburden a little bit. And I want to talk about feelings. So a good part of my job description, there's a few hats that I wear, but one of the bigger ones is counseling people. I do a whole lot of counseling, to the tune of 20 to sometimes 30 hours a week. And that's people coming into my office, sitting on my couch right over there. Here, you should see my couch. There it is right there. Look at that. Isn't that a pretty little thing? It's comfy. It's deep. It's comfy. There's pillows. There's a really soft, plushy fleece blanket if you want that. Anyway, it's a nice, comfy place to sit. People tell me all about what's going on with them. And oh my goodness, I feel like in the last year, have I heard it all. I have people come in and they're saying, well, I am suicidal, or somebody might be suicidal because their marriage is on the rocks and they're making bad decisions. Maybe they cheated on their spouse. And got another guy, feels like, he had a kind of a Job experience. If you don't know Job, well, Job was a righteous man until, he was always a righteous man, but then God allowed all these bad things to happen to him. Crisis after catastrophe after problem after, chaos after chaos. And I have a guy like that. I've seen him, and it's just like, how can you hit rock bottom and yet more stuff keeps happening to him, where it's like he had a heart attack and then a hip replacement, and then he had COVID, long COVID. He's older, he's in his 60s, so he's had all these COVID or flu symptoms that just went for months. And then all of a sudden he's having anxiety attacks and he's having tinnitus in his ears, and it's just like his life's falling apart. And another guy who is just having all these issues. Like his outer life is going great. He's good at business. He's successful outwardly, but inwardly, he feels like he's withering. And him and the wife are yelling at each other. They're not on good terms and stuff like that. And they're not communicating correctly, and so now they're not having a physical relationship. And people come in with some crazy stuff, and they might feel all kind of different ways about that. People may be experiencing anxiety, and they come in and they're all over the place, and they can't settle down and just sit down and stick with any one thing. They feel this, and they feel that, and they feel that, and they feel that, and it's just this running stream of anxiety and problems and emotion, and they feel almost too much. There's too much going on with their emotion. And there's a whole nother set of people who, and let me back up and say that some people feel way too much. They, so this one, I'm thinking of one particular person, but lots of people do this, where the anxiety is so much and the fear is so much, and there's anger in there, and maybe there's some pride in there, and maybe there's some sadness in there about some things. And it's just all so much, feels so big. And that's how they protect themselves, Why? Well, it's specific to the individual, but suffice it to say they do that. So another set of people that come in and they're like, yeah, my life is blown up. Something is super wrong in my life, but I can't feel a single thing. And they're completely shut down. And it takes a long time to get them to open up and to express and to admit that, yeah, they feel something. So people have all kind of problems, and I see all kind of problems, and I want to talk about one thing there's this huge commonality there. There's this thing that lots of people do, and I see it over and over and over. They put up this wall. People put up a big wall in their life. And I don't know if you can see my whiteboard right there, but I do a lot of diagramming and drawing for people. This part of you feels like this part of you feels like that. And we address each of the parts as we need to. But one of them is, you may have a hurting part. Here's a part of you that feels worthless. And there's this wall. You can't get over the wall to help this part of you. Well, what's going on? You still feel this way, and your relationships are deteriorating, and this worthless part of you is contributing to that. And yet you can't get over the hump. You can't help it, can't change it. What in the world's going on? So people still feel anxious, or they still feel closed off, or they still feel depressed, suicidal, whatever the case may be. And it can be the work of a lifetime to tear down a wall, right? People put this up. So why does the wall come up? That's an interesting subject. This wall goes up a lot of times because something happened. There was an incident in somebody's life. So they have this feeling of, let's say it's fear. Why are they afraid? Well, this fear goes back to this moment where they weren't protected or they weren't helped. One that's come up recently, honestly, it comes up a lot, is a young man will be with dad, and dad expects something of the young man. The young man doesn't know how to give it. A lot of dads out there want to be a teacher, but don't know how to provide the instruction necessary for the son to understand it, to get it, and to give the dad what he's talking about. So a lot of dads will say, 10 millimeter wrench, they're fixing a car. And the son is like, I don't even know what that is. You've never explained that once. And yet I'm supposed to know how to fix cars. And so they have this instant fear. They're seized up in that moment. And the fear they're experiencing in the present moment is related to like an experience like that. And so what they did is they put up a boundary. It's a boundary. It's a wall to protect yourself. And you're saying on the other side of that fear gave that little boy a message. And that message was, well, you're worthless. If you can't read dad's mind, then you're not worth anything. And so they have this experience and they have this lie attached to that experience. And they're saying that is so painful that I'm going to put up a wall. I don't want to feel that. I don't want any more bad things to come in and hurt me at the level of my heart. And so I'm going to shut down and close off. And that really works for a long time for a lot of people. Usually they're walking in my door because it stopped working somehow. And so, that little boy who felt fear, who feels like he's worthless and put up the wall, well, he realizes the wall is there, and all of a sudden he's angry about it. He's angry. He has feelings of anger at his dad, which make a lot of sense. His dad is not meeting his need in the way that he needs it met. And so now he is upset. Anger is a boundary setting emotion. Anger is an emotion that said, you went past my boundaries. And what might the boundaries of that little boy be? It would be something like, well, it's an expectation that dad would teach him and not just demand something of him. So dad crossed his boundaries. You're demanding something of me that I don't know how to provide. If you teach me, then I'll provide it. But if you don't, then this is not fair. And so the wall is up, and now this little boy's guard is up all the time for anybody that may treat him unfairly, and his response is anger, right? And so that anger works because it protects him. It has a noble intent. It means well, right? It's trying to protect the worthless part. And so it works until it doesn't, right? And so that anger eventually runs out of the ability to do its job. You aim that anger and it protects you, but eventually you aim it at the wrong person and it has a consequence. You aim it at the wife and you're in trouble. You aim it at the boss and you're in trouble. And the result is that little boy is a man now. He can't protect himself any longer. And now he is trying to cope in his workplace or cope in his house by pushing down these feelings of worthlessness, of fear and of anger and all these things, but he's still experiencing them. So he walks in my door and he's like, what in the world's going on? Because I don't want to be angry and I don't want to be fearful. I don't want to feel worthless. And yet my life is blowing up because my coping mechanism no longer works. That's usually what brings people to therapy. That's what brings people in the door. Because if it's working, then it's working. And when it stops working, then they have to reevaluate. And so normally people realize there's a problem when there's some sort of pain point. Somebody smarter than me said that pain is God's megaphone. Pain is what God uses to get people's attention. And it is never fun, but it's a gift no one wants. Let's just say that. It is a gift that no one wants. No one wants to be in pain, but pain can help you to reintegrate part of you to become a better, more whole person. Because if we just leave that little boy where he's at and he just lashes out in anger the rest of his life, we've never addressed the root cause of how he got there. And so how do you deal with stuff like that? People walk in and they have way too much emotion about it. They're so distraught or they're so angry. They don't know how to get a corner on it. They don't know how to find something stable in all of their emotions. Or they're completely shut down. They're just not going to interact. And step one is really, what is the foundation of success here? It is good rapport with that person. The largest effect size, the thing that has the largest effect size is the counselor at a starting point, I believe. You need to build good rapport with that person. You need to get them to trust you. And usually that's pretty easy if they're down and out. If they're hurting enough, they will just start telling you stuff because they're like, hey, what do I got to lose? Now, some people walk in and they're cynical. They're like, well, I've tried everything. I've been on medication. I've been to the psych ward. I've been to all these doctors. I've been to this kind of therapy, that kind of therapy. What can you do that no one else can? And so they don't even trust themselves, let alone anyone else that's in a position to help, let alone anybody they love. There's no trust. And so that can be a huge uphill battle. But normally, you just get them talking. And step one is just gain clarity. You need to gain a lot of clarity. They don't have clarity and you don't. And so you're helping them just divide and conquer. All right, you feel all these things. We got to list them all out. Make a big list of everything wrong in your life. And we got to focus on just one of those at a time. If healing is like a backpack and it has a bunch of rocks in the backpack. Every session you do, you may take out one little rock, right? And that doesn't feel like a big deal. It's almost like there's this well-worn track in their mind, and you have to keep walking it, and you have to just be observant about what's to the left and the right and ahead, and you just have to know what's there and map it out. And so a lot of times you just need to help people map out their own thoughts. How do I feel, and why do I feel that way? Does this make any sense? And you have to make some sense of it, and help that person understand that they're not crazy. Now, they may feel crazy and they may look crazy, but what I mean by that is that you need to validate them. So you go on a fact-finding mission. Okay, what in the world even happened? Tell me about all your present relationships. Tell me about all the experiences you can relate those to. All right, we need to go and find beliefs that are attached to that, desires that are attached to that, identity lies about who you are. You're worthless, you're alone. We got to find that stuff. And along the way, what that person needs is they need validation. They need to know that, okay, how I'm acting may be a little crazy. This is not normal. Feeling sad, feeling anxious, feeling angry, all that is normal. But suffice it to say that, yeah, the way they're acting in life is not working, and they need some help fixing it. That's not normal, right? They're out of whack. It maybe is the best way to say it. And so part of what helps that person is just you telling them and them understanding, okay, if we understand everything about your past, your family, your life, the experiences you've had that have hurt you, and your experience in the present, when we line all that stuff up and look at it, it makes complete sense how you've gotten to the place that you're at. And we understand that. And beyond that, the thing that person needs to know is that it's complicated, because how much of them should stay the same and how much of them should change? Because there's some parts of them, a part that's angry. Well, we don't want to get rid of that part per se. We don't want to take their ability to be angry, but we do need to transform it. There are parts that are just sinful and need to die and need to go away, right? This is a part that's selfish. This is a part that's not helping at all, and that happens many times. This part encounters Christ. This part encounters light, and it goes away. But there's a lot of parts that just need to be transformed. There's something you got right here, but there's something you got super wrong here. And we need to address the wrong, and we need to keep the right. And eventually you can parse all that out. But oh my goodness, that's what I would say, is that people have such strong emotions, and they just need to know they're not alone. That, yeah, it does make sense. Your emotional reality overall, no, it doesn't make sense how you come to these conclusions. I need to be angry at my wife or my boss, or, just that doesn't make much sense. How upset at the size of a problem you can be. You have a huge reaction to a small problem. No, that doesn't make sense. But it makes sense how you got there. I hope that's clear. I hope that makes sense. And so people just need, most people don't have somebody to talk to. I'll tell you that. They do not have somebody that they can rely on to talk to and to understand them well. There are very few people out there that have enough character just to listen to you without getting triggered themselves. And so if you can find that person, they're worth their weight in gold. To express to talk to, I can unburden with this person, and I won't feel judged. I won't feel condemned. I won't. I want to come back and keep talking to them, and I trust them. Even finding that person is tough, because one of the reasons people get to the place they're at is that they may have never told anybody what's in their mind, right? And so, like I was saying at the beginning of this video, people need to unburden. They need to get what's in their mind and their heart out. And if they don't, it sits and it becomes poison. And so if you've never, maybe you're listening. If you got to this point, congratulations. Maybe you have experienced that, where, oh my goodness, the relief you feel just talking about your feelings. Women, especially women, need that. Most men, men and women have a classic dilemma, classic problem, where the woman just wants to express how she feels and feel validated. Yep, it makes sense. Yeah, you're still a little crazy, but we understand how you came to that conclusion. That makes sense how you got there. Now, should you be there? Maybe not. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But yeah, validate. And he just wants to solve the problem. Obviously, that's a classic dilemma. But suffice it to say that she may not have had anyone to talk to all day. Or you may have never had anyone to talk to in your whole life, and you just need somebody to talk to. And when you get somebody you can talk to that you trust, that knows how to ask you the right questions, or really just listen. Step one is just listen. Let all the poison come out. That is the most healing thing sometimes. I ask that to people a lot. Okay, how do you feel just saying what you said to me? Because this is a deep, dark secret that nobody knows. And they're usually like, I feel amazing. Thank you so much just for listening and hearing that. Because that is one of the lies that people believe. Well, I'm completely alone. And if I told this to somebody, they are going to think I'm crazy. And if I ever let this out of my clutches, well, I'm in trouble. Somebody's going to judge me for this. And when they have that freedom to just say it out loud, you can see it. Their body relaxes, and it's just good for them. So everyone needs that. They need that daily. And so if you don't have that, you should find that. It doesn't have to be a therapist. It could just be a friend. And practicing vulnerability is a good thing. And so, yeah, that's me in front of my fire with my honey coffee in the morning. Who knows what it is for you, but you should find that. The people that come in and get some counseling, some therapy from me, and it's my first or second or third time with them, and they just start telling me their junk, they feel amazing. And then if you can help them beyond that, and they know, like, okay, I've expressed this and this person understands and they're telling me I'm not crazy, I mean, that means everything. That means everything to somebody. And beyond that, not only do you love them enough just to sit with them and listen, but if you have enough wisdom and enough principles to offer them, okay, here's the way out, you have gained somebody for life. You've fully transformed those feelings, those negative feelings, into something positive. They're walking in with fear and sadness and anger, and they're walking out with love and joy and peace. And so people's feelings can be transformed, and it usually involves that wall. What you got to do is you got to convince them, all right, this wall went up at a time you were hurting. And yep, it kept bad stuff out, but guess what? It stopped good stuff from coming in. Your life is not what you want it to be because this wall is up. And so how can we bring this wall down? And trust is a key factor. Just being able to talk and realize what is poison, what has been sitting on you and festering for too long, just that comes out. Okay, that's one more reason to lower the wall. And also, I mean, what gets people to lower it eventually is seeing this is just not working anymore. This part of me, this angry part, or whatever the part is that is trying to help the worthless part, there's a party that's hurting, and so there's a strong part that's going to, all right, we're putting up the wall. And anger is the guardian of this wall. And convincing this angry part to chill out and let some stuff through. I mean, you don't have to lower the wall forever, but maybe your wall needs a little gate in it. It needs a door. Stuff needs to come in and out, because eventually, this angry part realizes, oh, my relationships have suffered because of this. I survived for this long, and that's good. But if I want to thrive in the future, I need to be willing to reevaluate and change. Like I was saying earlier, some parts of you need to stay the same. Your wall, you need to have boundaries in your life, and you need to have a way to keep the boundaries and to adjust them as needed. Your wall needs a gatekeeper. You don't need the wall to come down. You don't need the gatekeeper to die or go away, but you do need a way to put a little door in there so that good stuff can come in. And also bad stuff can come out, because a lot of people will just keep it all inside. Their wall will keep it in and not let it out. And so that to me is usually the foundation. That's the beginning point of healing for a lot of people. I know I said a lot. If you have a question or comment, let me know. But that's what's on my mind today. So I'll see you around.